So my name is Cherith, and I currently live in a city called São José dos Campos in the state of São Paulo in Brazil. And I'm quite new here. I've only been living here for 1 year. I'm originally from Northern Ireland, which is a small country in the United Kingdom at the north of the island of Ireland. And along the way, I have lived in, I think, 4 or 5 different countries. So I have traveled around a lot. And right now, I teach English to Brazilian students. There are lots of Brazilian students wanting to learn English. So I have lots of fun teaching lots of different children from age 8 till 16.
Hi, ma'am.
Hello,
Good morning, ma'am.
good morning.
This is Akbar. I am a ninth grader from VZPHS Penmaka. With your kind permission, may I ask you a question?
Yes, please do.
How do you share your experiences from Ireland to help students in Brazil learn languages more effectively?
Yeah, that's a great question because we bring a lot of information from the cultures that we come from, and that really influences how we interact with new people. I think the first experience that I had in Ireland growing up was studying languages in high school. I studied French and Spanish there. And I had the opportunity to learn what it's like to not know anything about a language or culture and to experience starting from the very beginning, learning new words, new grammar, learning about a new culture. And I found that so interesting. I used to love learning about French culture and Spanish culture in Europe. And so I started to develop this love of language. And this love of language is something that I try to show to my students here as I'm working with them in Brazil. You've got to love what you do if you want to become really good at it. So, but at the same time, it was quite frustrating at times because there were so many things that I did not know. I had to learn a lot. I had to study a lot. And so I can understand a little bit about the experience of my students when they feel frustrated or like something's tricky that they need to practice a lot. The other experience that I brought from living in Northern Ireland is that I grew up in a period of time that was known as the Troubles in Northern Ireland. And this was a period of there was some violence in our country, and also we had 2 communities who were kept very separate when I was growing up. We didn't have a lot of communication between each other. And I always felt sad about that because I think there were so many similarities that we had. There was so much about us that we didn't need to fight about. And I think the one thing that could have helped us in one respect was learning to communicate better with each other, learning to listen to each other, to understand our similarities and our differences. And I think that would have made for a much richer experience growing up with the 2 communities side by side. So this idea of wanting to communicate with other people and the importance of listening to other people, being curious about who they are, I think a lot of that interest comes from my childhood experience in Northern Ireland.
Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you.
Hi, ma'am.
Hello. Hello.
My name is Salma. I am a
Hello.
ninth grader from GPHS Panamaka. Can I ask you a question, ma'am?
Yes, please do.
My question is, how do you make learning English and French enjoyable for students from cultural backgrounds?
Yeah, that's another great question. It depends so much on the students that you have in the classroom. So I'm going to share 2 experiences. One is that I used to live in Singapore. And when I was teaching in Singapore, we had many students from all around the world coming to learn English. But a lot of our students were from Korea, from Japan, from Russia, from some different countries around there. And so when we were having conversations and discussions and debates, the classroom discussion was so interesting because people would bring different ideas. Different people were coming from different faith backgrounds. People would share different traditions. They would share about the history and culture of their country. And this made the lesson so interesting because we were learning from the students, we were learning from each other, and all sharing our knowledge and ideas together. So that was one really interesting experience about making language learning interesting. And now that I live in Brazil, all of my students are Brazilian. In fact, most of them were born and raised in this very city. So they've not experienced moving around and moving to other countries and cultures. And so it's really important for me when I'm teaching that I incorporate culture into our language learning class. We don't just want to teach vocabulary and grammar. It's really important that we teach how other people speak, how their culture and language history affect the way we use language to communicate our ideas. And so when when we're learning about one grammar point, I will always link it to some cultural information, or historical knowledge, geographical knowledge, so that we are using the language in realistic ways and in useful ways, and always tying that language back to how you could use it in a different culture or in a different country.
Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you very much. Good morning.
My name is Harika. I am a ninth grader from GPHS Pinnacle. Can I ask you a question?
Yes, please.
What similarities or difference have you noticed between Irish, Brazilian, and culture and French culture?
Yeah, that's a really good question and a really big question. Similarities and differences. I think I can speak best about similarities and differences between Irish and Brazilian culture, but I can make a couple of comments about French culture too. I even wrote them down so that I can try to remember them all. So I think as an Irish person who's just moved to Brazil, the first thing that really struck me was the way people say hello and goodbye. Greetings is something that's really different in, I think, every country I've been to. And when you go there, you need to learn the rules, the social rules, so that you can communicate with people from different cultural backgrounds. So in Ireland, when we say hello, we might wave, or you might reach out your hand to shake. And there's quite a physical distance between you and the person you're talking to. It's a little bit more formal as well. When I came to Brazil, the first thing I noticed is the rule in São Paulo is you kiss one time on the cheek. And if you know the person really well, you give them a big hug. And so that physical distance has disappeared. I'm now very close to everybody that I'm talking to, and we talk very close to each other as well. So that it seems like a small thing, but that is a really big difference for me. I'm not quite used to that, and I've had to learn to get used to that. I know that when I lived in France, you gave 2 kisses to say hello to somebody, and we didn't hug so much. Whereas in Ireland, if you want to hug somebody, it's really close family and friends that you would hug. That's my experience. So that's my first cultural difference, I would say. In terms of similarities, the big ones that I've noticed are that family is really important in Ireland. Growing up, we had so many family gatherings and get-togethers. Family were we're the core of our community. And I've noticed that that seems like that's what it's like here in San Jose as well. Family is really important. I see lots of families getting together, spending time at the weekend, caring for each other, and that's really great to see. So that's something that's a similarity. What else is another difference? A big difference for me is the weather. The climate is so different here. Growing up in Ireland, it's a small island, so we don't get very cold temperatures and we don't get very hot temperatures, but we do get a lot of rain, and the summer doesn't last for very long. It can only be, sometimes we only get 2, 3 weeks of really nice sunny weather, and then the rain comes back again. Whereas here in Brazil, it's sunny a lot of the time. And in the winter season, it doesn't rain very much at all. And then in summer, we get lots of heavy rain. So this climate affects two things. One, it affects your social life. And two, it affects the food that we eat. So I've noticed that when the weather's good, lots of people stay outside, they go to the beach, they go to the swimming pool. And I've noticed that there's this culture of spending a lot of time together outside. And that's a little bit difficult in Ireland when it's cold and rainy. We spend a lot more time indoors because of that. In Brazil, they have a big culture of barbecuing and of going to the beach. And I've also noticed even birthday parties here are longer. When I lived in London, my kids' birthday parties were always 2 hours long, and that was it, finished. Here, they're at least 4 hours long, and sometimes they go on for even longer. So I think the social aspect of living here is quite different. And then the food is different too. We have a lot of tropical fruits here. Fruits that I'm not used to eating, but you might be more used to eating. I wonder if you guys like to eat mangoes, papaya, dragon fruits, these kind of things. This fruit is not so common in Ireland, but I eat it every day here because now I've learned to love it. So food is something else that's really different. If you go to France, the food is very different again. It really depends on the climate and the animals that are available. It depends on the type of ground that you have. When I lived in France, I remember eating a lot of French bread and a lot of cheese, and they are known for having really good wine there. So the food in that country is really different as well. Let me think, what else? Music is different. I don't know if you've ever heard Irish traditional music. That's something that's very unique to Ireland. I love to listen to Irish traditional music, but not everybody likes it. Over here in Brazil, they're known for things like samba, forró, lots of music that you can dance to. So the music here, the rhythm of the music, the instruments, everything is very different. Very interesting to listen to. And the last thing I noticed was how we show respect when we're talking to people. In Ireland, again, it feels a little bit more formal. When we're talking to someone and we want to show respect, we might call them Mr. and their last name, or Mrs. and the last name. We use the surname rather than the first name. Whereas here in Brazil, everybody is auntie and uncle, tia, tio. That's how we talk and show respect. So yeah, I think those are the main similarities and differences that I've noticed in my first year of living here.
Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you.
Good morning, ma'am.
Hello.
My name is Deepika. I am a 9th grader from GPHS Penamaka. Can I ask you a question, ma'am?
Yes, please go ahead.
What advice would you give to students who want to become confident in speaking multiple languages?
Yeah, thank you for your question. I think there are two parts to your question. One is, how do you become a confident speaker in your language? And the other is becoming a confident speaker in many languages, right? So I think to become a confident speaker, it starts with your attitude, this mindset that you have, having a confident attitude when you are communicating, when you are expressing your ideas. I have to say, when I started learning languages in high school, I wasn't very confident. I was very focused on getting good grades. And I've learned that in order for me to become a more confident speaker, I've had to practice as much as I can, every opportunity I can get, having conversations with people and expressing my ideas clearly. And it's really helped me when I've stopped focusing on saying things perfectly. I don't need to get the grammar 100% perfect. The vocab needs to be pretty accurate, but it doesn't have to be perfect. And when I stopped focusing on that, I was able to focus more on communicating my ideas. And I felt more freer to practice communicating with whoever, whatever I needed to say. I felt confident that I could just try and get my point across, make my meaning. So the first thing I think is practice every opportunity that you can get. The other thing that's really helped me is being curious. Try to be curious about how other people speak and how they use language, what gestures they use when they're speaking. That can be a really helpful way for you to notice how other people use language and also figure out what way you want to use language. So you can notice something that's useful for you, make a note of it, write it down, and keep reviewing it so that you can learn those phrases and gestures as well. Another thing that's really helped me is reading books. I don't know if you can see behind me, I have a lot of books. When I was studying French, I studied a lot of French literature, and reading helped me. It doesn't sound like it would make you a confident speaker, but reading really helped me improve my language skills because it improved my vocabulary a lot, and it helped me learn useful expressions the way that French speakers would use them. So reading, watching movies, listening to music, all of those are really great ways for you to get good exposure to the language that you want to learn. And what else did I want to say? Yeah, I think that's the main thing. Reading, making notes of useful language, and getting as much exposure as you can to real life use of the language.
Morning, ma'am.
Hello.
My name is Monica. I am a ninth grader from GPHS Penmarka. I would like to ask you a question.
Yes, please go ahead.
What inspired you to move from I,
I
I
have been to different countries like USA. Of course, UK is your motherland, and
Yes,
Singapore.
Singapore, yeah.
Currently in Brazil. So
Yes, that's right.
after having seen the different education systems in these 3 to 4 countries, which country's education system you think is your favorite and why the reason also?
Which education system is my favorite? When I was working in Singapore, the school I worked in was a French school. And so my experience of Singaporean education is quite different. It was very much French culture, the French curriculum. So I can't really speak about the Singaporean school because I know that their school system is really quite different. Although it is a very good education system, it has a different focus as well. I think I like the UK system, but that might be because I grew up with it, and it's the system that I moved to before. I like the British curriculum. I think it's challenging, and it's full of um, it's full of good content. And I also think that British schools are getting better at balancing teaching that knowledge content and teaching experiences and skills. And so I think you come out of the British system with a well-rounded set of skills and knowledge. So I think so far that would be my favorite one.
Okay, thank you so much. Here is another question. So
Mhm.
you have been a young educator. So the teaching has been changing from time to time. So today, what kind of advice you would like to give to the upcoming generation of educators? So in teaching, especially English language, because
Well, I think it starts with knowing why you want to teach English and understanding the importance of it. I mean, you shared that English is like a lingua franca for many people in India, but that's the same across the world. The importance of being able to communicate. I can communicate with so many people in the world, whether English is their first language or not, just because I know this language. The same is true for French and Spanish. I can communicate with many people. And so knowing and valuing the importance of learning another language, I think is the most inspiring thing I can hold on to, because every day when I go to school, I remember this is important. This is going to give these children skills for the future and the ability to work in different countries, to speak to different people, to learn so much more about the world that we live in. So I think that's one thing. The other thing is you never stop learning. As a teacher, I'm teaching and I'm at the front of the classroom, but I never stop learning. I'm learning from my students as well, but also I'm learning there's new research coming out all the time. And so having this attitude of we are always learning, there's always more to be learned, to be acquired, has really helped me keep up to date with the latest research that there is in language teaching and learning.
Actually you are born in Ireland. It's a part of UK, as per my knowledge.
Yes.
So you have different accents as far as the accents are concerned. Could you please talk about the different accents spoken across UK? So which is your favorite accent? Why?
Oh, that's an interesting question. Okay, so yes, in Northern Ireland, we have a very different accent to the rest of the UK. And it's a bit of a mixture. And this is interesting because it has to do with the history of who moved to Northern Ireland. And so parts of Northern Ireland sound very Scottish, and other parts have a unique accent. I think the accent, I like the London accent when I was living there. I think it's a really nice sounding accent, but I love hearing all the differences in the regionalisms, you know. Every region has a different vocabulary, different way of saying things, and I find that really interesting.
Okay, in this connection, I would like to ask a question. Do you think that accent is more important or communicating the person from one country to another country is important? So, what do you prefer? Do you prefer accent or communication?
Communication, hands down. Absolutely. There's no doubt about it. You have to communicate your meaning and speak clearly. Your accent is not important. Not important.
Okay, thank you so much for your time. And I must say, we all enjoyed this session. I am so thankful to you particularly, and of course, Jane also for giving me this
Yes.
and the golden opportunity. So before we end up this session, I would like to ask my student to sing our national anthem in front of you.
Thank you. Okay. So now
Oh, that's a morning over there in Brazil.
6 a.m.
Yeah, 6 a.m.
here.
Yes. Thank you so much, Cherish, for your time and for giving us a virtual tour of Brazil.
Thank you so much. I love talking to you all, and I wish you all very well with your studies.
Love you. Give the hands. Bye.
Bye bye, everyone. Thank you.